And welcome back everyone to yet another series of tips, tricks, and walkthroughs to help get you back on track with the games you might be looking for a little bit of help on. Today's series is a walkthrough on collecting music notes in Banjo Kazooie for the Nintendo 64. In these videos, we will be taking an in-depth look at the 9 different stages in Banjo Kazooie, and not only discussing the location of all 100 music notes in each one, but also tips and strats to help keep you safe while collecting them. These videos will be uncut start to finish, so it will be especially easy to follow along in your own game, if you'd like. In this episode of the series, we'll be taking a look at the game's third stage, Clanker's Cavern, so let's begin and see how I was able to collect all of the notes on this level. So, being one of the big water levels in Banjo Kazooie, there is a constant threat of drowning in Clanker's Cavern, and while it pretty much goes without saying, as you are making your way through the stage, make sure you always have an eye on your air gauge and don't take any unnecessary risks. Having said that, you'll see me cut it a little close a few times in this clip just because I was trying to make a quick and to-the-point video, so do as I say, not as I do. And if you find yourself saying, I probably have enough air, maybe you should just take the couple of seconds to breathe and head back down instead of potentially drowning and having to do the entire level over again. Other than the water being a threat, there are only a couple of enemy types that you'll be seeing on this stage, one of them being the Champa enemies that were on screen just a few seconds ago, which, if you haven't got the hang of fighting already, are really easy to deal with when you jump in front of their grate while using the B attack mid-air. Once you get that down, you can kill the enemy first try every time. Now that we've reached the main hub of this level, I'm going to dive down to the bottom of this body of water and swim through this long pipe to collect the notes there. It's nice to note that while there are multiple pipes like this in this room, this is the only one that contains music notes. In this next room, there's a lot of crab enemies that will try to take some health from you. You can fight them if you'd like, or you can just blitz around the outer ring grabbing the notes without fighting anything before getting out like you'll see me do here. Now that we're back out here in the main hub, it's time to go down and unlock Clanker's chain, as well as get any notes from down below. Now, if you've done this before, you probably already know that this has got to be the most stressful part of this level, so try to be aware of where Gloop the fish is at all times, as he will be spawning the bubbles needed to keep you alive. And if nothing else, stay calm and take your time if you can. As long as you keep your air topped off with the help of the bubblefish, you've got plenty of time before you drown. My only other tip for this part, if you are struggling with it, is to make it the very first thing you do after starting the level. That way, if you fail and you have to try again, you're only redoing the couple of minutes it took to get down here, rather than what might be much more time if you do it later on in your music note run. Now that Clanker has floated up to the surface and we've begun making our way back up to the main room of the level, I'm going to share a little tip I've kept in mind the past few times I've collected music notes on this stage. That being that there are exactly 28 music notes inside Clanker's body. So, knowing that myself, what I like to do is wait until I get up to 72 music notes before I set foot inside Clanker at all. That way I know for sure that I've collected them all outside. So it feels like we've done a whole lot of work just to be up to 40 music notes, but luckily the remaining notes, minus the ones inside Clanker's body, are here in this room. Try to stay aware of which side of the room you are on, because there are many notes on both sides, and they look pretty similar, so it can be easy to get spun around and mixed up. So at this point in the clip, we are down to just a few more left on the outside of Clanker, but as you will see here, we will be hitting that mark of 72 music notes that I mentioned earlier, and I will be heading into Clanker to collect the final 28. Since there are some notes just inside Clanker's blowhole, that's the entrance you'll see me use here. Here, of course, you'll see me use the Wonder Wing ability to sprint through this rather nasty part of Clanker's body. If you get to this point of the note run and you realize you don't have enough gold feathers to get yourself all the way down to the end of the room, I think you can run most of the way through while taking the damage if you have lots of health, if I remember correctly. However, since this is the level where you learn the Wonder Wing ability, the level naturally has many gold feathers for the new players to experiment with. So if you need to leave and go find some and come back, it's probably better to do that than die at this point. Here you'll see me complete this little timed obstacle course where you go through the rings to get the water level to rise up and gain access to one of Clanker's side passages for more notes. I believe I could have simply exited Clanker and re-entered through his right side set of gills to reach those notes, but at the time of the recording I didn't know which side I needed to use, so I simply opted to do the rings real fast. And now that we're down to our final 8, I'm going to reach the last room of my music note route inside Clanker's mouth and collect the final notes of this stage. And there it is, all 100 notes in Clanker's Cavern. I feel pretty good each time I complete this level, and I think that's because I believe it to be a pretty hard one, especially if you've never done it before. There are a lot of little nooks and crannies to this level, and while many of them have notes, obviously, there are a surprising number that don't. There is a good handful of tunnels and little side passages in the stage that you might swim through just to find out that they contain no music notes. And while you can take as much time to collect music notes in this game as you want, you can't stay underwater forever, so fully exploring this level can be a little bit tricky. But I think I've shared all I can about Clanker's Cavern, and that's going to wrap up our music note walkthrough on this stage. I hope this video helped you find those last few notes, and you're now one step closer to 100%ing this game. If there are any other levels on Banjo Kazooie that are giving you trouble as you collect music notes, make sure you do a search on my YouTube channel for the stage that's got you caught up, and we'll see if we can get you some tips on that one as well. As always, if you enjoyed this guide, please consider leaving a like or subscribing to the channel for more tips, tricks, walkthroughs, and Let's Plays. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.